All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to get into something that I think is really interesting and useful.
Yeah.
And it's relevant for basically anyone creating any type of content these days.
Mm-hmm.
And that is storyboarding.
Okay.
So we've got an excerpt here that's all about storyboarding, but specifically for content creators.
Yeah.
And, when I first started making content, I always thought of storyboarding as like something for,
To Hollywood.
yeah, like big budget movies.
Right. Right.
Um, but I've kind of come to realize that storyboarding can really
Level up.
level up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Any type of content that you're making.
Absolutely.
Just ready to dive in and like figure out how to make our stuff go from
Bada
blah
boom.
to boom. Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
So the excerpt we're looking at here, it jumps right into like the very first thing you got to do when you're thinking about storyboarding,
Yeah.
which is defining the goal of your video. But it's more than just saying like, oh, is this educational or is this entertaining?
Right.
There's like another layer to it.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest things is like, how do you want your audience to feel at the end of this video?
Okay.
Right. Like, do you want them to be excited?
Uh-huh.
Do you want them to be informed? Do you
Yeah.
want them to be inspired to take action? Like,
Yeah.
all of those things are going to kind of inform how you actually put this storyboard together.
That's a really good point. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, setting the mood
Yeah.
before you even really get into like
The nitty-gritty.
the nitty-gritty.
No.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So like if you're doing something that's explaining a really complex topic,
Yeah.
like maybe your main goal is just like, I want people to understand this
Right.
at the end of this.
Right. Or if you're doing like a product launch video,
Uh-huh.
maybe you want people to be excited and like ready to buy.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
So like setting that mood from the beginning
Uh.
is super key. I like that.
And then from there, I think the next step that's really, really crucial is like outlining your story.
Yeah.
Right. So like before you even get into the visuals,
Uh-huh.
you want to think about like what are the key points that you want to hit
Gotcha.
and how are you going to structure it?
So even if I'm doing like a really short
Yeah.
social media video,
Totally.
like it's still worth it to take a minute and just like jot down an outline.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, like a simple intro,
Yeah.
your main points, and then like a strong call to action.
Okay, cool.
And that can apply to anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're talking about videos here,
Yeah.
but like presentations, blog posts, anything really.
It's like giving it that backbone.
Totally. It's giving it structure.
So, we've been talking about like outlining
Yeah.
and kind of like the goal, the mood,
Yeah.
but then the excerpt goes into like the actual like meat of it, right? Like
Yeah.
visuals and the audio.
Yeah.
And I've learned the hard way so many times that like audio can totally make or break a video.
Absolutely. And I think people often focus so much on the visuals,
Right.
right? Like how does it look?
Right.
But audio is 50% of the experience,
Totally.
if not more sometimes.
Yeah.
So thinking about like, okay, what music am I going to use?
Uh-huh.
What sound effects am I going to use? What's my voiceover script going to sound like?
Yeah.
Like planning all of that in your storyboard is just going to make things
So much easier.
so much easier and just make the whole viewing experience better.
Yeah. I remember when I first started making videos, like one of the biggest things I learned was like,
B-roll.
yes, B-roll. I was like, what is this magic?
Totally. Game changer.
Game changer. Yes. Like, especially for explainer videos or anything where I'm like trying to teach something.
Totally. B-roll just adds so much visual interest
Mm-hmm.
and it can help you illustrate your points so much more effectively.
Right?
Like you can show what you're talking about instead of just like a talking head.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like you can make it look
Way more
way more interesting,
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
more professional.
For sure.
So that was like a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah.
But it's so key.
Totally.
Okay, so we've got our outline. We're thinking about our visuals, our audio.
Yeah.
But one thing that the excerpt also mentions is like,
Flexibility.
yeah, like you don't have to be married to the storyboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, like, especially with interviews, I've had
Yes.
so many times where I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about this, this, and this.
Right.
And then, like, the conversation goes in a totally different direction.
And that's the best stuff usually.
And it's like the best stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like so authentic and genuine.
Totally.
So, yeah, you want to have your plan,
Right.
but also be open to
Deviating.
deviating. Yeah.
Yeah, like think of your storyboard as like a flexible guide, not like a rigid script. It's there to kind of keep you on track.
Yeah.
But like, don't be afraid to go off the rails a little bit if something cool is happening.
Especially for like vlogs or documentaries.
Oh, yeah. Embrace the spontaneity.
Yeah, the realness.
Totally.
Okay, so we've got our outline, we've got our visuals, our audio.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we actually like make it all flow together.
Transitions, baby.
Yes.
Transitions.
Transitions are so important.
Okay.
They're like the bridges between your ideas that make it a smooth viewing experience.
So not just like jump, go, jump, go.
Yeah. One thing I like to do is like actually visualize it as like a flow chart.
Okay.
So like you can actually draw out like each box is a scene and then like the lines connecting them are the transitions.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah. And you could literally see like, okay, does this make sense?
Right.
Does this flow together well?
Yeah. Like, are we jumping all over the place?
Exactly.
Or is it actually like a cohesive story?
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah. And there's so many different types of transitions too. Like you can have a hard cut. You can have a fade. You can have all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And like a fade out is going to give you a different feeling than a hard cut.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So like choosing the right transition can really enhance the mood that you're going for.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So last step before we hit record, right?
Last step is review.
Review.
Go over your whole storyboard. And this is where you catch things like a scene that feels redundant.
Yeah.
A transition that just feels jarring.
Yeah.
You know, just little things that you wouldn't have caught if you were just like winging it.
Right.
So taking the time to review everything is going to save you so much time and headache.
While you're actually filming and editing.
Yeah.
Because then you're not like, oh, shoot, we got to go back and reshoot that.
Totally. Or, this just feels clunky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is making so much sense. I'm like thinking about all the ways I can apply this to my own stuff now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked all about storyboarding for video. But the excerpt actually ends with like this really interesting thought. Ooh, I like it already.
Which is like, why stop at video?
Right.
Like these principles can be applied to
anything.
Anything.
Any type of content.
So like a blog post.
Totally.
Or even like a social media update.
Absolutely.
Like you can still think about it in terms of
what's the story I'm trying to tell? What are the key points?
Uh-huh.
How can I make this flow together?
How can I keep people engaged?
Totally.
Oh, that's such a good takeaway.
Right. It's a different way to think about it.
Yeah. It's not just about video. It's about like any content that you're creating.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this deep dive.
All right.
We covered a lot.
We did.
So, yeah, whether you're making videos, presentations, whatever, remember the power of storyboarding.
It's a game changer.
It is a game changer.
All right. Thanks for diving in with me.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.